Paddington in Peru. This is the third entry into the Paddington franchise, third feature film in the Paddington film series. Paddington and Paddington 2 are some of the most delightful movies that I've seen in the 21st century. They are
Yeah.
truly, truly incredible movies. Paddington 2 in particular is just such a special movie for how joyful and how delightful it is, and how much fun you can have watching that movie, and how lighthearted it is. And the character of Paddington, the Paddington Bear, I mean, he's just become this really, really recognizable symbol. When I visited London, there were Paddington bears everywhere. You could buy a bear in almost
Really?
every shop, since he's obviously named after the Paddington station in London.
Mhm.
But now Paddington in Peru, this third film in the franchise, this has been somewhat of a long time coming. The last one came out in 2017, so we're talking about a 7-year gap. This movie is notably without the director of the previous two, Paul King. Paul King ultimately moved on and directed the Wonka feature film starring Timothy
Mhm.
Chalamet. And so this one has a new director, and most of the original cast is back, except for Sally Hawkins, who unfortunately was recast as Mary Brown in this feature film. But they've gotten mostly everybody back, and I think most importantly, Ben Whishaw is back as the voice of Paddington. This follows him on a trip to Peru, basically to visit his beloved Aunt Lucy, who now resides at this home for retired bears. And basically, he goes on this really sort of thrilling adventure to uncover his familial history and to uncover who he really is and where he comes from. And so, after seeing Paddington in Peru, even going into this movie, I knew that it wasn't necessarily going to reach the heights of the previous two movies. Like, I knew it wasn't just going to be able to sort of match up to those, because those are two legitimately, I think, great movies. And knowing
Mhm.
that Paul King wasn't coming back here, that was a reason to have a little bit of pause. But Paddington in Peru still manages to be a really fun adventure, filled with a lot of heart, and it's a great adventure story for the character. It's really focused on his journey and where he comes from and his relationship to his current family, but also like his actual family, what that means for him. There's a little bit of a mystery underneath it in which you have to try to figure out, who's behind certain things. And it's a really solid cast here as well. Like I said, most of the people are back here, but also Antonio Banderas joins this movie, Olivia Colman joins this movie, so you add on more star power to this franchise. And so it's still a really solid movie, and it's still just something that, as a Paddington fan, as somebody who really loves those previous two movies, there wasn't a ton that they can do with this one that could really ruin my overall enjoyment of it, unless it was just like a complete garbage movie. But I think that they
Mhm.
realized like that this is something special, and you have to try really, really hard to mess it up. And they did a pretty decent job. It's not the best. It's certainly my least favorite of the three, but I think overall it's still satisfying adventure. And I hope that they can maybe still figure out a way to continue and make more Paddington movies in the future, especially if Paul King decided maybe if he wanted to return down the line and hopefully revisit the character.
Man, I can't wait to watch these movies. I've heard nothing but good things. And I'm actually really happy that this movie isn't a train wreck, because I don't know, it just seems like a trend sometimes where the main director or creator leaves and it's like, uh-oh, what are we gonna do? And then the next movie, of course, they're trying to get money and they know the other two movies were good. It just doesn't turn out well. So at least they did somewhat decent. In some ways, this is a win, just like, okay, we're all right now. But it would be pretty cool if Paul King, I think, returned as well. What's the likelihood? I don't know. It would be really dope though. If he did do that.